All right, guys, my apologies for sort of doing this to you. I'm actually going to film this while I'm doing other work for the replay at the same time. So we've finished up Sunday, May 3rd, 1908, and I have a little bit of administrative work to do, including getting a couple of screenshots for blog posts and, of course, taking a look at those lineups and figuring out what needs to be updated, what needs to be changed, and so on and so forth. Actually, this isn't going to be too bad. We probably do need that there. So while I do this, I'm going to talk with you a little bit about a subject that I was just thinking of, not after today's game so much, although you do remember that I did make a little bit of a gaffe here at the end of today's game in that ninth inning where I completely lost track of which team was that bad. That's what I want to talk about, which is, have you ever had that sort of thing happen? I'm talking about like you're playing in the replay and you're trying to figure out like what's going on and all this stuff, and you end up just completely like forgetting like what the score is or how many outs there are, or some of the basic rules of the game, how runners are forced to advance, stuff like that, right? Has that ever happened to you? Because that's happened to me. That happened to me, of course, a second ago, and that also kind of happened to the AI in the Diamond Mine game yesterday. If you remember that little thing about, I'm not even paying any more attention, was that really another walk? Something like that, right? That's the interesting thing about this, because sometimes when you're playing a game and nothing all that remarkable is happening, you're going to find yourself really, really bored with what's going on, and you'll start asking yourself, who cares? Why am I paying so much attention to this? Why am I doing this, I just want to sort of zoom through this as quickly as possible. I would argue that that's really where your replay is probably in the most danger. You're at very, very high danger of doing something really silly. So the question there is sort of like, what do you do to maintain interest, right? How do you stop yourself from getting to the point where you're like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to get through this. I don't really care. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think that should be done? Well, is there a trick that you have? Is there something that you have to, to make it so that you are always paying attention to what's going on? Or is there just no way to do it, right? Like, is there some sort of like magic formula that you have? Is there something that, you do to yourself, like at the beginning of the game to keep yourself awake or something like that, or do you just not care? I'd be really, interested to know sort of what everybody's experiences are. Like I said, it's happening before. It doesn't happen to me as often these days as it once did. This happened to me a lot more, I think, when I was younger and would be interested in the game for completely different reasons, right? I mean, you know how it is when you're a kid. You end up being interested in baseball, maybe not for reasons that are so much connected to statistics and the proper way of doing things, but rather because you like the colors, you like the green, or because you like, a certain player and you think about the player a lot, or whatever, because you went to the ballpark and you like getting hot dogs or something like that, and I mean, all of that is fine. It's a legitimate reason to like something, right? But in that case, if you're playing through a game, you might not only forget about something, you might consider it to be unimportant, or consider it to be something that, doesn't really matter, and ask yourself, why am I even going to bother? Who cares if, in this random game I accidentally gave a team 4 outs, or I counted this wrong or counted that wrong, or they only had 2 outs in that one inning or whatever. I mean, you do kind of care, and yeah, it is going to influence your stats, but nobody's looking over your shoulder, right? So that's the question, right? What do you do? Do you combat that? Do you just sort of let it flow and let it fly? Is there some other piece of advice that you have? I will tell you, it's hard to know until you've done it before, but if you're trying to talk at the same time that you're playing, it's really, really easy for you to make a mistake. That's one of the reasons why I really like playing these games that are that are computerized, because it keeps me honest, right? If it weren't for these computerized games, if I were like doing this all myself, this would be like a complete disaster. Now, it's probably already sort of to a certain extent in unmitigated disaster because of sort of the way I've been playing. I mean, you've been watching these, you kind of know what's going on. But man, I tell you, if I didn't have the computer, and if I were just sort of doing this all by myself using paper and pen, it would be an ugly sight, not just because my handwriting is pretty bad. So I'd love to know what you have to think. If you have any advice for anybody or anything like that, let me know down below, and we can talk about it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.